All right. Well, we're back for another show today, and I've got someone I got a chance to meet the last month or two as we were both going through training with Brightway Insurance. Jeremee Gant is agency owner in Brightway, and he's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I think I screwed that up a little bit, but how's it going, Jeremee?
Oh, it's going good, man. I'm about halfway through my first cup of coffee for the day. So, second phone call, first cup of coffee. So,
That's it.
I'm
Come on,
like,
man. It's almost lunchtime.
oh man,
Well, you're an
I'm an
hour.
hour behind. I'm an hour behind, so I got nothing to that.
No, so I thought it would be good to, have you on the show. I mean, you're out there hustling, you're doing a great job. We kind of gone through the same training. And I always like to talk to people that, go in business for themselves and learn about their backgrounds and motivations. So, let's kind of just start with that. Like, talk about where you're from and kind of, your journey to where you're at now.
All right, yeah, sure. Let's make sure we got enough time in this thing. But no, well, from suburbs of Chicago originally. Birth certificate does say Chicago though. Born in the suburbs, I admit that. Well, raised in the suburbs, but I moved to Louisiana when I was 15, my sophomore year. So, of course, the suburbs of Chicago to Little Denham Springs is definitely a flip. If you hadn't heard of Livingston Parish, look it up. But yeah, graduated high school here, and I guess you could say I took a couple years to in between college, and then I went to online college for a month. Realized that was terrible, and I'm sick of school. So just worked for a little while. So let's see, in 2013, me and my wife first met, worked at 13th Gate, and then in 2014, I was still doing like extra work and whatnot. So did a few little movies here and there, nothing major. Well, no major roles, good movies, Django, and got to meet Oprah, and that was nice. But on one of the sets of Fantastic Four, I actually met my friend Brad. We're still real good friends today. So that was 6 years ago now, which doesn't seem like that long, which is really not in the grand scheme of things. So 6 years ago, I met him. We were both like extras doing nothing on set. We were literally sitting in the back for 2 days just cutting up. And once we finished, I got one of those text messages. I'm sure everybody listening has gotten one of these is, hey, I got a business opportunity for you. Want to make some money? I said, yeah.
Who doesn't?
I got like 2 jobs and got my own place. Yeah, I'm trying to make some money. And I've done, little, MLMs before.
Yep.
But it was Primerica. So actually the person who he helped me get, interview with or whatever, they helped me get set up, and, they pay for your life insurance license and the training and all that stuff. They pay for all that. So I actually got my life insurance license working for Primerica. At the time I was 19, and
Nice.
I didn't really do anything with it because at 19, all of my friends are 19.
They ain't thinking about that.
No kids, nobody owns a house. Right. Nothing's paid off, not even their cars. Like, so nobody has any responsibilities yet. So it was hard to peddle the product, but I was really good on the recruiting aspect of it. Only trophy I ever won. Well, first trophy I ever won out of 2 in my life was for recruiting. So it definitely wasn't for selling. Like I said, I just didn't have the use or the real world application that helps to sell products. So I didn't really sell anything, didn't necessarily make any money. Only money I made was a little cash paid out of pocket from the higher up for recruiting. But after that, worked at little jobs here and there. I worked in a dealership for a few weeks. That was terrible. They weren't trying to pay me. And then I worked at Best Buy. That was cool. But then I went and worked at, did pest control service. So while I did pest control service, and at that point, my life insurance license had lapsed because I had not used it, and I didn't do my CEs, and at the time was not thinking about going back into insurance because my experience was unfruitful. But yeah, so I was servicing this customer's house for like 9 months, and I had just now met him on his service. So it was like my third time spraying this guy's house for bugs. Well, just the outside. He didn't have any bugs in his house. His house was clean. And then so he was there like the third time that I went. He had a big old truck. He had a nice house. Yard was big and well kept. And he had like 2 kids. He looked like a single dad. Well, is. And he had like 1 or 2 4-wheelers. So I was like, man, this guy's doing great. And just that was a success to me. That's success.
Nice.
And so just as that person I am, I asked him, I was like, hey, if you don't mind me asking, what do you do? And he was like, yeah, I sell insurance at such and such. I was like, okay, no, awesome. Actually, I sold insurance a few years ago with, Primerica. And he was like, oh, yeah, I used to work up there too. I was like, oh, cool. When were you there? So he actually started working there after I did. So I was there before him. And he was in a place further along than me. So I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, I know all those guys before you even thought of insurance. But and he's 10 years older than me. And but no, so he was like, just talking to him a little bit. He's, recommended. He's like, hey, yeah, just come check it out. I mean, you already got a license. I don't think I told him that mine was lapsed, life insurance license. He's like, yeah, you should interview with the boss and see, if it'd be a good fit for you. Come on over. So he gave me the guy's email, sent him an email, and then within a few days, I had an interview. I was actually at work doing pest control, and I was, spraying and whatnot. And I had the interview in the morning, so I actually went like in my pest control uniform, so I'm looking like a bug dude, and straight bug man. But and then so I actually had the interview in the morning, and then the guy, the old manager, he waited till the end of the day because he said he wanted to make me sweat, but they knew as soon as before I even left that they were going to offer me the job. So I got the gig, and it took me about 2 months to finish my course, just as I was kind of lollygagging. Just working. I was working like a 10-hour day was a short day, a 12-hour day was a regular day, but it could easily be 15 at least. So I was working like all day, 2 kids at the time. So finally buckled down one day, left work a few hours early, and I studied for like 15 hours straight, and finished over half the course, knocked it out, and a week later took my test, passed it. Right at the 1-year mark of me doing pest control. So I started at the dealership, which owned an Allstate agency. They have a cool little program where the owners of the dealership actually buys the agency. So I started there, and it was right before I started 2 weeks before the great flood of 2016. That 1,000-year flood that they talk about that's happened in other places soon after. But so I started 2 weeks, and I was actually still doing my online modules at that point. And I actually flooded. So after the flood, there was an influx of people buying vehicles. So our process was customer buys a car. Well, the salesman has a customer that wants to buy a car. And before they take the deal to finance, they would bring us paperwork. We would introduce ourselves, saying, hey, whenever you're done in finance, I'm help you call State Farm, Geico, Progressive, Liberty Mutual, whoever, get that car added. So when you come out of finance, when you leave here, it's all taken care of. Also, we own an Allstate agency, so I'm gonna work you up a quote just to make sure you get the best deal. I would not ask. I would just tell them what I'm going to do. I did not say I'm gonna save you money, but make sure you get the best deal, because I mean it could be getting the same coverage for the same money, well, more coverage for the same money.
Right.
But I do not have corona. But yeah, like I say, so I was just make sure you get the best deal in the insurance. So of course, after the flood, there was, on a regular month they would probably sell 200 cars, but during the flood, each location was selling like 400 or 500 cars. So it was a ton of customers coming through there. So it was literally sink or swim. Got to figure it out. If you weren't selling, then there's something wrong with you. So I just had a ton of opportunity to train, I guess you could say, and just practice my pitch. So I started there in August of 2016. And then January of 2019, so January last year, actually got, so about 2.5 years, got promoted to the agency manager, which had 4 locations. So 3 in Baton Rouge and 1 in New Orleans. So they're about an hour apart. And like I said, I'm not gonna put everybody's business out there, but I was pretty much the boss. Like my boss didn't even know how to do an insurance quote, and he owned the agency.
Damn, throwing him under the bus.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say no names. I'm not gonna say the place it came from, but
He's at this location. No.
yeah, right. But yeah, no. So I was pretty much responsible, and my pay was the same. It was significantly less than the guy I was making before, which I did know that. The bonus and incentives did not measure up to what they were hyped to be. The guy before me was on a flat salary, which definitely made me feel a little salty. I had to earn my money,
Right.
and it was heavily incentivized, especially with almost all and I was a top producer. So when I got off the sales floor, that now was 40 less items a month. An item being like 2-car auto policy is 2 items, and then a home, so you got like 3 items total. So not necessarily policies, but like 40 items. That's how they paid incentives on that. Also, they did, but so I lost my best salesperson when I got promoted, essentially. And then before I got promoted, because my manager was leaving, another guy that worked with me, he got his own agency, so he left.
Did he get a Brightway agency, or which one did he go with?
No, he got another Allstate because he just didn't want to learn a new system.
Okay.
he was being lazy. He stuck with what he knew. Which is fine. It's working out for him. But yeah, he just didn't want to learn anything new. He was like, I guess he's an old dog. Really young guy though. But yeah, so I pretty much had a new staff. I had a new guy that just got hired that I did not interview. And he quit like a couple weeks after I started. I've been told that I'm mean. I'm not mean. I'm just like blunt, and I try not to beat around the bush. But I beat around the bush, but I immediately do it. I beat around the bush, but I don't wait.
Yeah.
But yeah, just people quitting and firing people, and people firing themselves because they do what they do. Just obviously those incentives weren't being met. But so I was pretty much, I made almost the exact same amount of money as a manager as I did as just a sales rep. And I was managing 4 locations, a bunch of babies. I was responsible for the relationship between the salesman and the insurance department, and then the insurance department and customers and everybody's, and then all, the Allstate, and then the managers, and then mediating little, petty differences between employees. So yeah, it was a lot. There's just a lot of extra stuff to say, there's no extra money in there. So it's purely out of love. So last summer, 2019, if you asked me, which people did ask me, and I even had a person offer to pay for an agency, and we run it together. I was like, no, man, I don't want an agency. But yeah, just probably about 6 months into the job, just realizing it was underpaid, and just like, man, I'm driving to New Orleans. At one point, I was doing it 6 days a week for 3 months straight, 50 miles each way. No, actually 80 miles each way, because I lived in Baton Rouge at that point. So it was 80 miles each way, and I did it 6 days a week for 3 months. So my little 2-year-old car has got over 60,000 miles on it now. So I'm putting all these miles, I'm raking them up. I was like, man, I'm working hard. So I asked my boss for a raise, and he, of course, told me no. And I did little things to kind of get myself in the mood. Like I got texted him once, and I still have it. It's just like, hey, can I take the day off tomorrow or whatever? He's like, well, do you have somebody to cover? I'm like, there's one person there, but they have to work. And he was like, well, when you have coverage, you can take an off day. And for anybody that's curious, it takes about 3 weeks to hire a person, about 2 weeks of online training, and then about a month of actual training before they can actually work. So that's about a 3-month process to get somebody hired from start to finish. That's after you find somebody. So that's assuming you had somebody that you knew you wanted to hire that day. And I was the trainer as well. So it would be me training that person. So I'm working every day they're working, and then every day they're not, because I don't have the person to fill that spot yet. So I was like, man, all right. And I would kind of hype myself up with it, just every now and again, I would look at that little message and I was like, okay. But it's not that I couldn't have an off day. I just had to do my job better before I could earn one, practically.
Right.
So that kind of got me feeling some type of way. So last year, I actually started trying to get approved for a loan. I was like, man, I'm just get my own agency. And I was looking at another franchise opportunity, and I got approved for it, credit wise and stuff like that. And, background check approved, and practically they said, all right, come back with some money and you're good to go. So I started looking for loans, and they only wanted like 25,000 up front. So I was looking for a loan for like 30, 35. A little bit of reserve, but they only really wanted 10, but they want to see that you got 25, and then they want to see you got a little reserve. So I would still have, 15 in reserve essentially after I paid them their 10. So it was fair, $25,000 loan. I didn't think it was that much. Man, I got turned down so much. Like,
It's not easy to get.
I got turned down for about 6 months solid. And then at the beginning of this year, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just go do credit repair. So I did credit repair, because obviously screwed up, when I was 18, 19, just had a little card here. My first car that I totaled at 19, had a balance left on that after it was totaled, and then that hit my credit and tore me up. So I got all that stuff removed with a local guy that my wife uses. She's a loan officer. And I was actually able to get approved to buy a house. So I bought my house, rural development, which, is a 0% down payment,
Nice.
pay your, title fees or your closing costs or whatever. You still have that stuff, but we did selling concessions, and we came to the table looking real nice, but not much of anything down. So it was great. So I got approved, with no issue. They didn't ask any questions, just bank statements. We pulled credit, you're good to go. So I was like, all right, got approved for almost a $300,000 house like that. All right, so let's go back and try to see about this loan now that I got the house, because I wasn't really in a rush to buy a house. I wanted to buy an investment property first. My wife's like, I want somewhere to live, blah, 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 whatever. We want a house to live in. Right. But thankfully we did it that way though, because with COVID and the pandemic, it would not have been a good move. Even though we bought our house during the pandemic, it wasn't that bad. I didn't think it would be that bad or that long that, it would be a thing.
Yeah.
Like it is now.
Yeah.
But, so we bought the house, and I was like, look, she was saying, well, I don't really see anything I like. Look, we're going to have to find something, or else we're going to have to wait 2 years, because I'm ready to leave. I was ready to leave the agency at that point. I was just tired of working. The employees were kind of like, I was just working hard. I was just working real hard. I loved the little group of people I worked with, but I was just working hard, and I was not getting compensated for it. I was hawking benefits just to make it by, cashing out little bits and pieces of my 401k as it builds up to high enough to barely cash out. Yeah. So I didn't have I was not in a great position.
It's one thing if you actually are reaping some benefits. I mean, obviously, I think you got to work hard, but when you're not being respected or, paid what you're worth, it's like, it's hard not to start getting a bad attitude. And
yeah.
You got to start looking at other options.
Yeah. Last year I made, probably about $6,000 more than I made the year before as just a sales rep and responsible for me. But then at that point was responsible for 4 locations and like 10 employees.
Yeah.
And getting paid like a couple $100 more a month.
Yeah.
So yeah, no. And even after bringing it up, and I broke it down to my boss, I was like, look, I make as a sales rep, I was making this amount per hour. If you take 40 hours a week plus my, and then, divide that up with my base salary and then the commission that I earned, because I would make a nice chunk of commission, because I would sell $30,000 to $50,000, or let's say $25,000 to $50,000 in premium a month myself, and that's with one company. That's not with having a whole plethora of carriers like I do now. So I would do a lot of business. So I would get nice commission checks. But yeah, no, so it just wasn't making sense. So like I said, so I was ready to leave. This like this summer actually. So earlier this summer, so we bought our house in June. We got closed on June 19th. And so I was like, look, I'm ready to leave. So if I go anywhere or start my own business, we're gonna have to wait 2 years to buy anything, because you gotta have the 2 years in business if you work for yourself before you can use that income. So I was like, look, now or never. Well, not never, but practically
now
never.
We gotta wait. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can
2 years is a long time.
You see what happens in 6 years. I mean, going from working at Family Dollar to owning an insurance agency. So 2 years is definitely a long time to not have what you want.
What was your wife's thought? Like, was she like, no, it's too risky? Like, or was she kind of like, get out there, do it?
Oh no, she was pretty for it. She was, let's do it, because she left her job about 2 years ago. Well, really about a year and a half ago, but she left like working a full-time regular job, 2 years ago. She's a loan officer, so I mean, she's been working for herself, and I mean, I just been kind of carrying the weight while she builds up that pipeline of realtors and clients underneath, that are steady while she's creating that. So we were to the point to where she finally had that up and running, and I helped get her out of her 9 to 5 or her 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. Job. So we were out of, she was out of in the clear that way. So now it was kind of my turn to transition out of it, because I set a 10-year goal for myself, a retirement goal. So I am a year and a half in right now. So only got 8.5 years left to go. So I had to find something because I'm tired of working. I'm tired. Like, I'm 26. I'm tired.
You're still a baby, man. Come on.
I'm tired. Look, I'm bald already. Look, okay, so I got a little thin spot. You can't see it because the whole thing is bald. And my hair was falling out. I looked at a picture from like 2 years ago, and I had hair, and I was like, what is this? What happened in those couple years? I don't know. Promotion happened, I guess. That's what really did it. But yeah, I would have to cut my hair real short just to cover up my little thin spot. It wasn't bald; it was just thin.
So I keep mine long. It hides it a little better.
Yeah, you ever get a haircut, you be in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
you
get a bad barber, it's over with. I was my barber.
Yeah.
I still am. But yeah, no. So I had a 10-year goal for myself. I set it on my birthday last year, April of last year. So almost 2 years in. So I had to do something with it. So so we bought our house, and of course, I didn't want to get any loans or anything while we were buying our house. So I waited till we bought the house to continue to, because I was able to get approved for almost $300,000. So I was like, all right, let's go see if I get approved for this little 30.
Right.
That's a tenth of the amount. So bought the house, closed, and I'm like, all right, back to the grind. Let's go and let's try again. So submitted a few apps, still getting declined. I'm just like, no way. No way. How did I just get approved with flying colors for this house? And then I still can't get this little 25,000. So then at that point, I was like, look, I'm gonna figure it out. So my wife was like, look, just ask my dad. He does pretty well for himself. He's self-employed and whatnot. So like, just ask my dad. And I'm a real selfish person. So for anybody listening, I'm real selfish, but not in the way like I don't help people. I'm real selfish with like my own accomplishments. So I definitely don't mind being a lone wolf and just kind of doing my own thing. So I don't believe a certain amount of money is worth splitting my ownership and profits when I'm doing all the work and contributing all that. Why would I, if somebody puts up 100% of the money, which isn't much in my eyes, but contributes no knowledge or legwork, but they get 50%, in my eyes, it's not a good split for me. I'm doing all the work, and I just gotta, I'm giving you half of it for what, interest. So I'm I'm real selfish with my own accomplishments in that sense. But so I didn't really like that option, and she was getting kind of frustrated, just like, it's taking longer, you're working harder, you're stressing out, you're obviously not happy at your job, but you won't ask my parents for help. You won't like let them co-sign for you, or on the loan, or give you money. I'm like, no, nobody's going on the hook for this. It's going in my name. Like, no, I don't want anybody calling me asking me how did we
Where
do
my
last
money
month.
at?
Yeah, like where my money at, or like, how did we do last month? Like,
Right.
first off, you can't read my handwriting. I can read my handwriting. So like, I don't want to have, have to keep track. I don't want to like to have to run my business how somebody else wants me to run my business.
Well, if you're in business for yourself, I know for me too, back when I got started, it's like, I don't want to answer to anybody else. Like, I don't want to have, I mean, it's like having a boss, almost having a partner. I mean, you got to answer
Right.
to him,
Right.
and I know that's how I was. I was like, no, same way. I've been solo most of the time. For some of the bigger projects, I've had to bring on partners, but yeah, I like to have that control and the flexibility of, it's my business, I'm gonna
Right.
do it how I want, and hopefully it'll work out.
Right. Yeah. So like I said, and eventually, my wife, kind of threw me out there while me and my father-in-law, we were drinking and having a good time. We were all just hanging out at the new house. This is a few months back. So this was, let's see, I got the okay. So this was in August. This was like, yeah, it's like August. We were drinking and stuff and just having a good time. And then my wife's like, "Hey, um, Jeremee wants his agency, but he's just trying to get approved for this loan, and he just doesn't really want to ask anybody." So me and my father-in-law, we drinking, like we drunk, like I'm cracking open the Malibu Black, which is 70 proof, so it's way stronger than regular Malibu. So I mean, we cutting up. I got the Maker's Mark and Coke. I got the Malibu Black with pineapple. I mean, we just
Just
going at
sign
it.
right here, pops, please.
Yeah, yeah. We're finally to the point to where we're getting along, and then she throws us out there. So just like, we're having this conversation right now. Okay. So then, of course, after she says that, my father-in-law looks at me. He gives me that slow, like, what are you waiting for? Like,
Right.
your well-being is in my best interest, which, in a sense it is, his grandkids and his daughter are in my care.
Right.
But, so I was just like, yeah, I'm just trying to, do my own, thing, see what I can do, and then I'll go from there. And then I don't want anybody on the hook for it,
Yeah.
either. So he was like, yeah, I don't mind. And then so my wife steps in and she starts to kind of mediate for me, and then I'm just like, yeah, I'll tell them what, kind of how I want it to go and how I would want to do it. And then she's like, nah, stepping all on my feet, all on my toes, man. Toes were broken. And she's just stepping all on them. And of course, they're father and daughter, so like they get along well, or presume to get along well. But me, I'm just more of a blunt. I don't really care how things are put. I like relationships to be comfortable, not necessarily forced and overly diplomatic in a sense to where it's just kind of weird for me. So I'm just like, this is how I want to do business. Like, I'm casual. Like, we'll sit on the couch, we'll talk a little bit, and then we can just talk in the morning. And my wife's like, hey, well, he made you an offer for, to pay for it, and you're gonna jump on it. I was like, look, let's just finish drinking tonight, and then we'll talk about it, tomorrow. And then, the look, how people say, like, okay, no problem. He was giving me that. So he was giving me that, and then my wife's like, man, this opportunity's about to fall through the cracks. Come on, Jeremy, you better hop on this. Come on, like, what are you doing? Stop. I'm just like, look, and then I'm getting kind of frustrated, and I'm drunk. Well, I was a little tipsy, but I'm just like, look, I'm not gonna force this. Like, if he wants to put up, then he's gonna have to be patient, because I'm not talking about all this business while I'm, deals are made, over drinks, and deals are made at dinner. I do believe that, but I'm not going over. First off, I didn't come with no pitch, like, because
Right.
I don't think I even knew he was really coming to town ahead of time. You know, it just pops up and we just cut up. We drink whatever's available. But yeah, like I wasn't prepared with a pitch or nothing like that, or I hadn't mapped out. And he's a very savvy guy. I mean, he does like stuff with the IRS and all that stuff. So I'm like, he's smarter than me. So before I go and present a deal to him, I want to do research and learn how to work dividends and work payments for investors, and where there's an angel investor, how do they get paid? I want to do my research before I propose give a proposition for a business venture. Yeah. He's smarter than me. I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, that sounds good, and then I don't know what's going on. So that's not the type of thing I want to do. So I'm just like, look, yeah, if you say you don't mind, that's cool. We'll pick this up. I'm gonna do a little research and I'll put something together for you later, And then, my wife, she starts kind of mediating. All right, well, yeah, let's do this. He'll give you 10% of his profits. He'll do da 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 da. I'm like, hold on, because I got business expenses too. Hold on now. I'm not getting. You talking profit? You talking revenue, or you talking profits? What's going on here? Like, and they just going at it. Oh yeah, that sounds good. Oh yeah, that sounds good. I'm like, it's my business. No, we got to talk. You stay out of it, wife. Respectfully, you stay out of it, like, because this is my business, and if anybody I'm in business with, we got to be able to talk, and it's got to be comfortable. So, like, you can mediate all you want, but if me and him can't talk about it, then it's not happening. It's not gonna work. It's not a comfortable business relationship. It was mediated, and we're dealing with it at that point. So yeah. So he was like, yeah, put something together for me. And we ended up having a long talk that night. I'm just like, look, yeah, I appreciate everything, but I just want to, try to put some stuff together. He's like, okay, tell you what, how about you give me something by like 2 weeks from now or something like that, or to say at the end of the week, or I think he said a few days. I was like, all right, yeah, sure. So I called him in a few days. Did I call him? And then what happened? What did he say? I think we talked a little bit, and then he was like, okay, yeah, that sounds all right. Well, we'll pick this up. I got to move some stuff around, and we'll look at like next month. Give me like a month and a half to put stuff where where we need it to be. I'm like, all right, cool. Good. So in that time, that was August. That was like the beginning of August, and I was just tired. I was just tired of working. I was just tired of working for somebody where I'm the boss and getting paid, like a regular person. I'm the manager, but I operate like the boss, but I'm getting paid as like a sales rep.
Exactly.
So I was like managing all these locations and all this other stuff. The higher up bosses don't even talk to me. They don't even look my way. So I'm just like, no, this just doesn't seem like an appreciated, role. So I'm just ready to get out of it. So I had some hours at work, vacation time. So I cashed that out, and then I had some money in my 401k. I cashed that out as much as I could, and then I actually had some gas reimbursement checks saved up, and I cashed those in, and so I actually had enough to buy the agency. So I was like, man, leap of faith, let's do it. So I was calling I had been trying to get in touch with Goosehead. Okay, I'll just go ahead and say it. Goosehead was the other model I was looking at. I had been trying to get in touch with them for a few months, and just to see like, hey, is the requirement still the same? For to get the agency, because I had people that have money. So if I need the money, I can get it, but I wasn't going to borrow that money. Oh, here's what I propositioned with my father-in-law. Here's what I propositioned. I said, look, let's get a joint account, and a joint account. So your name's on it, my name's on it. You will put that money in there because you have it. And then when I go to validate the money with the franchise, they see that I have access to that money. And then as soon as they do that, you can just take the money back out.
Right.
Right. So proof of funds. So right. It was finessed. I was like, look, man, I was so proud of myself. Because I had the money to pay the franchise fee, and this is public knowledge. It was like $5,000. Yeah. So I had I had the money to pay that, and my wife working, and and able to sustain the bills and stuff at this point. Because, like I said, she's a few years into her business, being self-employed, so she's finally to the point to where she's steady. So I was like, man, you know what? Like, if I need it, absolutely need it, I actually can get it, but I don't like have it in my hand. So we were going to do that, and that's when he said, give him a couple months, about a month and a half to put the money in there, and so we could do that. And then I said I'll pay, like $1,000 or something, which is fine with me.
Right.
It's just a fee for not really lending me any money, which is great for him. It's like investing without investing. You just put it in for like a couple days and take it back out, and you make like $1,000. Like, so it was a great deal for both of us. So that's why I had proposed. But it would take him like a month and a half to do it. So like till October. And then so I was like, look, I was like, okay, yeah, let's do that. So I was waiting on him, I was going to wait and be patient. And I was just getting more tired and just frustrated at work. People quitting, having to hire new people, people not working out, and I don't know. And then everything getting slower with COVID. And then I'm never getting these bonuses that I was promised again, because everything's just falling so far down, like the whole year. So I'm like, I got to do something. So I had enough to buy the agency. So with all that, and then what else did I have? I had something else. So I had like 10 grand. So I had like more than I needed, and I had enough. So I paid. So I called I was calling Goosehead, and they weren't answering the phone for like 2 months. And I finally sent an email one day. It was like, hey, can somebody get back to me? And like, if anybody's thinking about Goosehead, go ahead and do it. All right. It's up to you. It's up to you. I'm not trying to trash nobody's system.
I don't know.
I'm not trying to trash nobody's system, but it was just my point of contact just wasn't good. Because I got a friend that owns one, and he was doing all right. He's doing good for himself. So that's what I was going to do. It's something that I knew of already, and I knew its success rate. But the person just wouldn't answer the phone. So I finally sent an email and said, hey, I'm interested in, the franchise opportunity. Can somebody please give me a call at, such and such? Here's my phone number. So I didn't hear anything back like the whole day. And then I finally got an email back. But when you get an email, you can see like the history of it. It was received by one person, but forwarded to the person that I had been calling for a few months. And then like within 3 minutes, that person replied to the email that I've been calling for months, within minutes, and sent me an email, said, hey, thanks for your interest and Goosehead, but we decided not to move forward with your application. I'm just like, I haven't put in an application. Y'all haven't answered the phone like all year. So I'm like, what the hell? So I was like, okay, no, it was just funny to me. It was just odd. I don't like to do business. Like I say, I'm not going to force any relationship. So, and I had actually just gotten that email from Brightway that they had this new model rolled out with that low buy-in rate, and there wasn't any finance franchise fees, which is great. Which Goosehead did have that. Shot fired. But yeah, there was none of that. And so I still did finesse, my little amount down that I had in reserve. Either way, like I said, if I absolutely need it, I'm gonna figure it out. But I called Matt at Brightway and left him a voicemail because it was after hours. It was like 5 o'clock when I got the email. And then I was like, yeah, it was too late. So he called me back next morning. And within 7 days, I signed my contract with Brightway and met the CEO. Within 7 days, paid my franchise fee, signed my contract, met the CEO, all within 7 days. And on the 7th, once I signed my contract, I waited a couple of days and I put in my notice. And this was the beginning of September now. So it'd been less than a month since I had the conversation with my father-in-law. So it'd been only a month. And so I called. So I wrote up my resignation letter, and I gave it to my boss as the beginning of September. And he waited till the end of the day. Well, he said, let me talk to the other boss, the owner of the dealership, and and I'll get back with you and let you know what he says. So he went and talked to him immediately after I gave him my resignation letter, and then he waited till about 3 hours later to call me back and told me that he spoke with him. And I'd actually just told my new hire which I just hired her. She like just finished her online module, so she hadn't done any really of her floor training. I mean, like a few days, and so she's real fresh. I just told her like, yeah, I got, I'll put in a 3-week notice, so ask all the questions that you can, and then so as I was talking to her, as soon as I told her, my boss called me back, and I stepped outside, took the call. He told me, hey, yeah, thanks for your notice. I talked to the boss, and it's probably just better to make today your last day. At that point, it was 5:30, and the day was over. So I'm just like, okay. So I went back. I was like, all right. So I went back in the building and told the new hire that I just told I had a 3-week notice, and told her, like, all right, hey, today's my last day. Yeah. And then she's like, wait. She was like flabbergasted, and she was like, well, hey, you have to help me sell this policy because this guy's ready to buy. I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. So I had my laptop open, and I got the email time stamp 1 minute before I received the phone call, because all my boss's emails are forwarded to me because I'm the manager and I do all the owner stuff. And so I got the email said, staff termination request pending. I had already been fired out of the system before he even called and told me that was my last day.
Wow.
So, and so I, like I said, I've got staff in 3 different locations. So I left our Nissan location and I went to a Toyota location to see. I kind of had to just run out of there. So I wanted to see the rest of the staff before they started leaving. So I left, and I left my new hire crying. She was bawling, like she couldn't even function. Like she was so upset. Yeah,
it's tough. I know, like for me, when somebody resigns, I typically make that their last day too. I do it because I'm like, once you tell me you're gone, are you going to give me 100% the rest of that time? Like, and I gotta transition anyway. So, occasionally I've extended that, but I've been hardcore with that, which is tough. But when you were going through that whole process, when you signed that franchise document and sent that cash in, like, were you nervous? Were you excited? Like,
man, I've never paid anybody $5,000. I've never had $5,000 to pay anybody. So
like, damn.
That was the biggest bill I've ever paid in my life. Heck, I bought a new car a couple years ago. I didn't put $1 down. So like, right. I don't like deposits. I don't put stuff down. So yeah, that was a hard chunk to pay, but I kind of knew that was a possibility, but it wouldn't really make sense to do that for the person that would have to train the new hire, because the owners don't know how to do the job, and would have to train the replacement, especially since my manager, who gave me the job, who had resigned, gave a notice. Somebody that had quit underneath me had gave like a month notice to go to another insurance carrier. And so it had been done before for other individuals in the agency. So it just didn't really make sense for why they would do that, because there was no trained replacement for the person that manages 4 locations and a couple $1 million worth of business. It just didn't make sense. So I didn't really expect it, but I expected it. So that's why I signed all my documents, my contract. I paid my fees. I spoke to the CEO. I called the onboarding, specialist with Brightway, and was just verified multiple times, like, hey,
am I good?
I'm good, right? And then, like, they were reassuring me, like, yeah, you're good. Your credit check came back. We're just waiting on your criminal background check to come back, but yeah, you can go ahead and put in your notice. I'm like, no. I know my background's clear, but I'm waiting.
But let's just make sure.
I'm going to wait till it comes back, because I don't want any shenanigans. For one, I already paid you all this money, because once I put in this notice, they will potentially fire me. But I feel like they weren't really satisfied 100%, because I didn't really give 100%, because I got 50% of what the other guy was making. So I wasn't really giving 100%. I don't feel like somebody should give 100% to receive 55% of what the job is worth.
The beauty now is you get what you put in. So,
Right.
and just from being in training with you and stuff too, it's like you're helping people on the weekends. It's like I'm not going in business for myself so I can work 9 to 5. You're in
Right.
business, you can do what it takes,
Right.
and putting that extra effort in is what that potential is. I mean, that's where that potential is for you. I mean, to take it to that next level. So, um, I it's been tough. I've had one or two jobs as an adult, and so I'm always kind of used to that. Like, you just have to bust your ass, work smart, and you get what you put in. So that's what I like about this. And with Brightway, um, I like the fact that it gives people the opportunity to get in to the business relatively inexpensive. I mean, what kind of business can you buy for that price and get that kind of return? There's not many of them. A friend of mine owns a Brightway in Georgia, Casey Smith. That's how I was introduced to it. And excited. I mean, I have multiple ventures, so this is just one thing for me. And but it's kind of a nice long-term investment the way I look at it. It's not going to make a ton of money quick, but once that train gets rolling, it's going to be rolling.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, no, I mean, I'd pretty much already been doing the work of an owner and a sales rep and a trainer and working 6 days a week, and answering phone calls and all this other stuff. So I'd already been doing all that stuff, but just I had more liability to make sure other people were getting paid that weren't doing any work.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I don't mind, making sure my employees get paid, and anybody underneath me, of course. But that's gonna be for work rendered. I don't believe that I should do all this work, and I wasn't even compensated for selling stuff. So if I sold, yeah, I wasn't even getting paid anything. I was like, man, I'm getting paid the same, but I'm not
Right.
making any commission either. It's like, man, so I'm selling, I'm hiring, I'm firing, I'm training, I'm commuting, putting thousands of miles on my car a month, like a couple thousand miles on my car a month,
Yeah.
and I don't even have a company vehicle. And I'm
Working
working.
at those dealerships, man, they should have got you a car.
Yeah, and I get there before the employees, and then I leave a lot of times after they all leave. So I get there at 8 a.m. and I leave at 8 p.m. So yeah, I'm making a little bit, but my hourly actually ended up going. If you were to break down how many hours I'm working, it actually went down. So yeah, of course, as a sales rep, if I were to work longer hours, I'll make more money,
Right.
and have less of a headache, quite frankly. So
The one thing that's nice though about, this is your first, business venture is, the support, having like, Brightway's corporate office, having people to call, because for me, I've owned a bunch of businesses, but never insurance. So I was like, I have no clue what the hell I'm doing. I know how to do marketing and sales and build businesses, but I don't know the ins and outs of insurance. So having that support was kind of a nice thing for me. But I want to go back to something that you talked about earlier. I want to how'd you get into acting? You said that you were in you were an extra in some stuff. So walk me through that. How in the world did you get involved in that?
man, I'm trying to think. Okay, so I think it kind of stems back from when I was working, well, in high school. I wasn't really doing anything in high school necessarily, but as soon as I turned 18, me and my friends, it was like 6 or 7 of us. Like we would go and donate plasma together and all types of stuff, just like little things to just get money. And when I graduated high school, I didn't have a job for a few months, which isn't very long, but I didn't have a job and I wasn't planning on going to college either. So I just had availability. So I would go to Craigslist and I would just look for little things that can make money. And of course, I see a thing, extras needed. And I'm like, oh yeah, extra. I don't really quite much know what that is, but yeah, I think the first job was for Beautiful Creatures, and me and my friend did that, and it was like an hour and a half away from where we lived, which is the longest I'd ever really paid attention to a drive, and I'm just like, man, this place is impossible to get to. Which I've been to that place, that city, St. Francisville, plenty of times after that, but I was like, man, this is like the furthest I've ever been. But I'm from Chicago, so I mean, I've been plenty further, but it's just a long stretch of road. I don't even know how we got there. I don't even know where it was at anymore. But so we went and did that, and the part that we were in actually ended up getting like, it's like one of those little flashback scenes to where you can't really like tell what's going on, that they pretty much cut the whole thing out. So I mean, and we got paid. We got paid though. You know, $100 for 12 hours was like good money for me back then. It was like $101.50 for 12 hours. But they feed you like 2-3 times while you're there. Good meals. They cater some good food. So I was like, yeah, they feed you and
Right.
and they pay you. So I was like almost, what, $9-10 an hour. It's not crazy,
Right.
but literally just to like do nothing and have fun.
So did you start thinking about like, man, okay, maybe I can become an actor? Or were you just like just doing these gigs just to make some extra money and have fun?
They were kind of gigs to make some extra money. I didn't necessarily have the ethic to put in that work to become an actor. It wasn't like, yeah, if I start here, there was no plan mapped out to say,
Right.
I'm gonna do like 6 of these and then create a resume or anything like a movie resume or nothing like that. There's no plan to do that. It was just kind of like here and there little things. So I think my first year I just did, let's see, Beautiful Creatures. That was it. And then the next year I did just a few more. Actually, the first year I did Beautiful Creatures, and I think Django Unchained. So I actually got a scene in the movie to where I walk across the front of the screen and Jamie Foxx is in the background. It's pretty cool. But
Nice.
yeah, you can actually see me with Jamie Foxx on a horse in the background. It's pretty cool. But I felt like a little celebrity. And without me pointing it out, actually a couple family members of mine had like found me. I thought that was interesting. But so that was just like kind of like a cool feeling. I was like famous with being the least amount of famous. But nah, I just kind of partied, all of 2013. Well, the first half of 2013, and then the next year I did The Butler, which I had Oprah and Lenny Kravitz, which I got to meet them too. I talked to both of them, which is super dope. And Cuba Gooding Jr. and Forrest Whitaker, they're in the movie too. So I got to see Cuba Gooding Jr., but I didn't get to talk to him. He was across the church on the other side. But then on the next movie was it Fantastic Four, and that's where I met my friend. And then he, hey, you want to do some business? And then that's where I got introduced and roped into insurance from there. But I mean, even up till last year, it was never like my dream or like crazy love to just sell insurance. I mean, it's not like, yeah, insurance, I could talk about it all
Not
day.
that
I could
exciting.
talk about it all day, but
Right.
it's not like things that I just talk about. So,
Yeah.
if I had my pick of all the interesting things, I wouldn't talk about insurance first, but I definitely can talk about it and then finish the conversation last. But
Well, I always say it's like, look, it's a boring business as far as like, I mean, there's no glitz and glamour to it, but you're able to help people. It's building relationships with people, stuff that I enjoy. So, but really long term,
right,
a lot of
yeah,
these agencies that are around for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I mean, they've built such a big book of business that, it's definitely something to kind of strive for. That's kind of what I'm looking for, is the long term, play of it, and hopefully get my kids in it. My daughter's 23, he turns 17 next week, so hopefully at some point they'll want to get into it as well and just have that that opportunity. But so how has it been? So you've been in it. We went through training like in October and November. You and me, Leah, and we had a couple other people in that training. So
yes, Indiana. I actually just got off the phone with Indiana.
oh, did you?
That's why I was like 1 minute late hopping on. Yeah, I told her I'd call her back when we're done.
No, it's kind of cool though to have like a little group though, because like I mean, I know I call you sometimes before I call the client support or agency support, but
I don't even call them. I don't even know the phone number to agency support. I just call my reps, to be honest. A lot of my questions come from just learning my carrier sites. I don't even
yeah,
call them.
we're always Leah and I are always on the phone with them with the carriers, but it's definitely there's so much to learn in the business, but for me, I'm competitive and I love like the rush of getting a deal. Doesn't matter if it's $1,000 a year home policy. Like I just like getting the deal done, and it's
Yeah.
like I think this week we've got we had two home policies. So we're trying to grow it. It's fun, but I mean, it's good on our calls too, just to kind of see you. I mean, you're out there, crushing it. Last week you had a huge week, and it's good just to see our group from the first training on, and I think really we were the only people who didn't have any insurance experience in our training. So Leah and I. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The rest of us did. Yeah.
how different has that been? Like going from Allstate to Brightway being independent.
The only thing is, I'm not going to say necessarily the difference is from Allstate to Brightway. I would say that the difference is from captive to independent.
Gotcha.
So it's all going to be an underwriting game and learning your carriers, what you can and can't do. That's going to be half the battle. Learning your discounts, what gets customers, the best deals, little things you can add on that apply / kind of don't, that you aren't going to get dinged for. I mean, it's like little small tiny things like, oh yeah, sometime within the next 12 months they're going to bundle their homeowners. I mean, you just kind of got this. You kind of just got to pray a little bit. I mean, you have no idea if they're going to bundle it with that carrier. But like the carriers, reps, they told me that. So I'm like, okay, the representative told me that I can do that. And worst case, they'll just, it'll just fall off at the renewal, and then I'll just reshop it at that point. And at that point, they'll have tickets and stuff falling off. So it's
Yeah.
just learning. A lot of it is just kind of learning what you can and can't do. That's the bulk of it. But like I say, the biggest difference is not going to be from necessarily Allstate to Brightway, because that's like a carrier issue to a company. Well, a framework standpoint. It's like it's not necessarily the Brightway model that's different. It's just the independent model as a whole, because you don't necessarily represent one company, you represent all of them. So to encompass that, Brightway has its own system that you gotta make sure you log everything into. So it's just the extra steps that are added in there. Just that extra step of, Brightway doesn't know what we do and don't have if all we do is put stuff into the carrier site. So really just that extra step is the biggest thing. And like I said, there's no feeling better than when you sell something. But the problem with that is the best time, the best thing to do after you sell something is to sell something else.
Yeah.
So if
Just
you
keep
sell
rolling.
one, if you sell one thing and you on that high, you just like, look, I got to make this other
I'm gonna
phone
get on
call.
the phone. Like,
Right. This person said they're getting ready to buy this car. So I need to make sure that I'm keeping in touch so that when they go to the dealership, I'm first to mind. So, the first step for me is not to make sure everything is put into the computer, how, it needs to be. I make sure the customer gets all their documents and all that stuff and the policy set up and help them get their current policy canceled. But, I got to make sure they get the doc signed and all that stuff, and
it's definitely a
put in
lot
the
of paperwork.
yeah, it's just that extra steps. So like I said, once I sell something, the first go-to for me is to just go in and sell something else. So then once you get, so many so long of a trail of selling stuff, and then you get tired. So then it's like I gotta eat. Then it's like I gotta
And it
eat.
piles
And then
up.
I'm getting a little tired, and I'm working from home. So it's real easy to just sit on the futon and sitting right next to me. But
So
so it's
what's
fighting with
your
that.
plan as far as like do you plan to, open another office in the future? Are you planning to add staff? Are you going to kind of stay solo? Have you thought
So
about that far out?
yes, yes. So the first quarter of the year, my goal is to hire one person. Um, start hiring a team, but definitely, and then work up a pay plan. I kind of got a little pay plan worked up on how I would do it. But something I wanted to see is just now that I'm kind of learning all the carrier commissions and stuff like that. It's just like, okay, what would I want to afford to pay a sales rep underneath me? Because I got my cut. Well, the agency has its cut, and then Brightway has its cut, and then that hire would have its cut, and then I still got administrative fees to pay. So just kind of figuring out, what percentage would make sense, also to where it's profitable for anybody that I hire. Plus, I got to buy equipment and stuff too. So I don't want to necessarily be just coming out of pocket with all that stuff. So I want to wait till my business is making money, and then it's sustaining itself at that point. So I'm not, you can't wait 2 months to pay somebody, but it might take a month or two for me to get paid. So I need to have some money. So that's why I definitely want to make sure the business is making money. So the first quarter of the year is what I'm looking like. So January, February, definitely going to get my office then. Me and my wife might merge and get an office together. She's a loan officer, but we need some time apart sometimes. So she needs to leave me alone. I need to leave her alone. I don't want her popping in my office. Sometimes she comes home and just like comes in here. I'm just like, why are you here again? Why can't you work from your office? Why are you working from home today? It's just like, literally every time I hear like the garage door open downstairs, and I'm just like, why is she here? But
Leah and I have worked together for like 20 years.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So, I mean, we've been married 23. We've worked together almost that whole time too.
Yeah,
we complement each other. It's a good, partnership.
Yeah, my wife can't really handle me and how I operate in business. I don't think my wife can really handle me in business. I mean, we can cut up and have fun, but my wife's kind of like she's kind of more like trust the process, and I'm more like, how does that process work? So I get on her nerves. I don't know if it's a Scorpio thing. She's a Scorpio. I'm an Aries. So I don't know maybe if that's it, because I have the same issue with my cousin. She's a Scorpio as well. So last year I actually did Airbnb. So I had an apartment in New Orleans that I was renting out, and I had my cousin managing it for me. So instead of just like, hey, yeah, you take care of it, and I'll just take my little bit of extra money and run with it. No. I want to know how you manage the books so that I can learn for myself. But she didn't like to answer questions. So it was kind of like we butted heads on that a lot. So I was like, I'm not asking to step on your toes, but I just want to know and learn to do it myself and stop paying you.
What's your birthday and what's her birthday?
Mine's April 18th. So I'm right at the cutoff of Aries, and she's November 1st.
So Leah is April 12th and I'm November 16th.
Okay.
So we're flip-flop there.
Yep.
That's funny.
Yeah, I like to ask. I mean, you're a question asker too. So, like me and a person like you would work out in business because we like to ask the same types of things. My wife, she's kind of more like, hey, I know what I'm doing. Don't ask me no questions. I'm more like, hey, I know what you're doing. I'm just curious. What are you doing? Like, not necessarily to say you're not working and not doing what you're supposed to, but just like, I just want to know how that process works. Like, so like on my end, I take pride, and it really helps me to sell and to operate the agency. And I've been open for 1 month anniversary today.
For both of us, right?
Yep.
16th. Yeah, we opened
16th, 1 month anniversary, man. I didn't even think about that. Look, you picked a good day to do a podcast.
Yeah.
But 1 month anniversary. But just even 1 month in, I definitely can tell that my experience and not just insurance and selling, but just my interest in learning the process definitely helps me. Like if I'm dealing with a friend of mine and I'm quoting them insurance and they say they might not care for Progressive that much, and I'll say, hey, if you don't mind me asking, why? Like what happened? Well, such and such happened and blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay. Well, you probably had an issue because when you called your insurance, you told them the wrong thing, and then it made it look like you were partially at fault. And then it made it really difficult on your end. Oh, yeah. So then it really helps to alleviate some of that pressure that they may have had in the previous claim experience, even if it wasn't like with that company that they're with. And the other person that was at fault probably had that insurance company. Just the process just wasn't really preferred. But of course, nobody just wants to pay out money, so it's all investigated. So if you say anything that's a little off, it's going to say, all right, you're at fault and you're at fault, so we'll pay half type of thing. So definitely just knowing how that process works and just that claims process is definitely helpful for business, because that's the only reason customers buy it. Not necessarily in anticipation of having a wreck, but just in case they do have a wreck, in the likely case that they do, because people are terrible.
Yeah.
So,
When you got into, you've been into it, a month, but have been working with the franchise for a little longer, like outside of like the insurance side of things, has there been anything like that you were like, oh, wow, that shocks me, or I wasn't expecting that, just being a business owner now? Because, it's quite different than, getting that paycheck from, somebody and, having somebody to report to. Now you're your own boss.
man, you know what? The only thing that I'll say that's different for me, is I started working at a place that was a new business. Essentially, it was only the agency I was at was only open for a year and a half. That's fairly new in the grand scheme of things. I mean, it's real new. But of course, they could afford to pay. So, even though it takes a month, for those policies to register, over a month for those policies to register and get paid on it, they would pay the following month after you sell it. So the only thing is, I just miss making money, because I'm still starting out, so I haven't really got my first check yet.
Yeah.
But I'm selling. I don't care when I start getting paid. I just need to start selling.
Yep.
So like, I've got like 20 policies that I just had to input into the system last night. It's like, okay, I've been selling them, but I just need to do all of my admin stuff on the back end. The customer document parts and their policies are all set up and good to go. But just on my end, to make sure that my policies are cleaned up and I can get paid properly, I haven't done that. So I've been taking care of the customers. Now I've got to make sure I take care of myself.
Yeah, get that money.
So the only thing is just that I miss having that steady money, because I haven't been working in a few months, really. So that's the only difference. I've never had just a period of time to where I'm just like, hey, wife, you got to put up now.
Right. Can you,
like,
can
you gotta produce, but
Yeah.
but no, that's the only thing. Just temporarily handing over those reins over to her. I tell my wife, like, hey, you the man of the house now. I joke with her. I say, hey, come on,
Get it done.
Yeah, but
No.
it's been good so far. I feel like don't work too hard, but it's the little things, just post on social media and engage in a different way. I know the company Brightway, they kind of focus more heavily on referral partners, and kind of, you work them and then they'll send you stuff. I'm more of an aggressive. That's more of like a passive lead system. I like to have more of an active lead system, and then whatever passive comes, that's good too. But I just can't wait, because if you get one realtor, I mean, if they close a $200,000 house, which isn't a very expensive house, I mean, they make $6,000. So, I mean, if you got one referral partner, they can easily close one loan a month and pay all their bills and be just fine. But if you get a good go-getter, you might have 2 or 3 a month. There's no guarantee you're going to get all of them. So even if I go out and get all the, 3 realtors, that only guarantees me about 6 policies a month.
Yeah.
So that's a third of the weekly amount I need to be selling to hit my goals. So a third of the weekly amount. So that's not a sustainable right now, especially as I'm starting out and still learning all my carriers and what can go where, and then still waiting to get access to my other carriers. So I'm taking more of an active approach versus just kind of waiting for those leads to start rolling in. I'm just like, look, I'm calling people, and if somebody says they recommend, they're gonna recommend me to somebody, and just kind of shooting them a text or just kind of calling, checking on them, and seeing if they ever talk to that person. I mean, just kind of more of an active, not necessarily calling people that'll send me stuff later, but calling people that's got bills and stuff now. Like that, everybody has insurance and nobody wants to pay it because we use it, but you don't use it often, or at least I hope you don't.
Yeah. Hopefully not.
Yeah, it's not a daily user, so it's not why overpay for something that you only have. A lot of people only have because they have to have it.
Yeah.
They don't understand the true value. Besides, it costs them a couple $100 a month sometimes. Just so yeah, just going active. And I've always had that mindset. Don't just sit back and wait for somebody to call you. Go ahead and call them. So on top of having those referral partners that can get those, give you those leads that you don't necessarily have to work and do all the legwork for to obtain, but you also have those referral partners that you work with that you can go to and you can get stuff immediately from. Like I got a friend of mine who finally bought his policy last night from me, but he's been sending me leads. My very first customer was his brother that he sent to me, and that was a month ago. And he just now bought his policy last night. But he's been sending me stuff. So, but he's sending me. He's just a regular person. He just, he's not a business. Well, he's opening up a business, but he's not like he doesn't own a dealership. He's not a realtor. He's not a loan officer. He's not an attorney. He doesn't own a restaurant. Like he's just a regular guy that just knows a lot of people. And he just sends me friends and stuff. And, I go meet up with him every now and again and have lunch. I think I had a birthday lunch with him for his birthday. And then I went to a birthday dinner that he had for him, and just kind of keeping in touch with him and whatnot. And it's just been working good for me. So those personal referrals, I say, are just as good as those business referrals.
Yeah, no, I think you got to have a good mix. And I mean, I know that you're hustling, which is good, which I like. And, it's pushing me too, because I don't want to have you outdoing me. So, so I told Leah, we got to get our shit together here.
Yeah, I can't let you catch up either. So,
so no, we'll just keep pushing each other. Anyone in Louisiana that needs home, auto, any insurance needs, call Jeremee. It's Brightway Insurance, Jeremee Gant Agency, I think, right?
Yep.
And follow him on social media. But Jeremee, I want to thank you for joining me, man. It's been great chatting with you, and it's been fun working with you too. So looking forward to continuing that.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. We'll keep in touch. And I was just texting you last night. I mean, we got our goals that we want to hit, and we just got to do what we need to do to make sure we hit it.
Oh, yeah.
It's a week by week thing, or day by day thing, but at the most, it's a week by week thing. You got to just break down your goals.
For sure.